PLO Lumumba and the panel and the provost. When do we start vetting the would-be leaders? When do we start vetting our candidates for the next? Because you told us they are hypocrites, and I believe. When should we start vetting for the leadership tomorrow?
If we do know this as a matter of fact, what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? Second, last question. This issue of a united church has been a consistent question that has come out. What is it that is holding us to be united? Thank you.
Yes, I think I'll ask Professor Lumumba to answer Bishop Rotich's question. You got the question? All right. And then Canon Wainaina, would you answer the question on the united church? What is failing us? And the other question, what are we doing about it? Yeah.
Thank you very much. As it is now, there are no presidential candidates. The candidate will officially be there in the month of May next year. There are individuals who say they want to be president. And most of those individuals, we know them. They served in President Moi's administration, and most of them served badly. They served in President Kibaki's administration, and they served badly. Some of them are serving in President Kenyatta's administration, and they are serving badly. There are people whom we know. They have wealth which they cannot explain. Some of them have led this country, people to kill themselves, and we know them. We know them. And we must now ask ourselves, is this the group? Is this the individual that we want to lead us? And I'm saying that there are individuals, some of whom will present themselves, some of whom have already presented themselves. But because we are caught up in a time warp, the media will not give them the oxygen of publicity. When they come to your churches, which the clergy here will preside over, you will not give them the oxygen of publicity because they'll not give you money. When they come to funerals at which you preside, you will also not give them the oxygen of publicity. I'm suggesting to you that you must choose men and women who are not animated by ethnicity. It's a book written by Koigi Wawamwere towards genocide in Kenya, the curse of negative ethnicity. Read that book. And all these individuals that you know them, I'll not name them, but you know them. These are ethnic kingpins who in a proper country ought not to be elected. Number two, we must have men and women whose sources of wealth we know. We have men in this country who, even if they worked for 100,000 years, they would not have earned the money that they have. If they are thieves now, they are going to be thieves when they become presidents. I was the director of anti-corruption authority. I know all of them. They are thieves. They must be men and women who have compassion in their heart, and they are there. I'm not saying that they are angels. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God and man. But I'm saying that there are people that you can give the benefit of doubt. Then we must have men and women who are consistent, What they said 5 years ago, they do not change unless there is evidence that justifies change. They are such men and women. I conclude with an example of a friend of mine called Bishop Adoyo, whom you know. Bishop Adoyo contested to be the senator in Nairobi, and I voted for him. When I vote for you in this country, you normally don't get elected. I voted for Adoyo, I voted for Martha Karua, they don't get elected. I look for them. I told Adoyo at the Nairobi club, you are going to contest to be a senator, even those who are your congregants at the Nairobi Pentecostal will not vote. Because on the day of the election, they'll be asking whether you are Luo, Kamba, or Kikuyu, and whether you have given them money. He was never elected. I personally contested in Kamukunji, held 250 town hall meetings with people like this, including clergy. Hypocrites, complete hypocrites. Until the day that we changed that and the provost was quite clear, the software is the problem. Until the day we change, my dear Bishop, not in your lifetime, not in my lifetime, but it can change if we make a resolve. Countries have changed dramatically. I pray and hope that that will become our country come next year. But on the evidence that I see now, I doubt.
Thank you, Professor.
One is, what should the church do after you have spoken truth to power and there is no response? And that is related to the question of how do we organize then?
when you want everything to happen in your lifetime, you'll be disappointed. This is intergenerational. If you think intergenerationally, you make your own contribution. And we must consistently speak. And I keep on giving this example of the American Civil Rights Movement, which started in the 19th century. And as recently as 1963, Martin Luther was speaking about it from the pulpit. And as recently as last year, we were speaking about it with George Floyd. So you can see that it takes years. So we keep on speaking. And what the young lady has said, are you raising a successor generation? Today, the Reverend Dr. Cannon and Bishop whom I know must see themselves in the mold of the older clergymen. You did not start now. This has been over 100 years. So let us not judge our success on the basis of our very short lifetimes. We must keep on speaking and keep on speaking. Kenya is only 58 years. Some of the things we are saying will happen in 200 years. And historians will say it started 200 years ago. That is my answer.
1992, I thought I would help my constituency by running to become the MP. I was a bishop, but they elected somebody that didn't even go to church. And again, in the year 2002, actually the person they elected against me was a person who stood and reminded the people, you all know I'm a thief. And they all said, yes. Can I go and steal and bring it to you? They said, yes. And that's the person they elected.
Those of you will remember in the run-up to the Constitution review process when the religious community came together at Ufungamano. That is the spirit that must be revived. And what has been said by Bishop Karanja about having replicating this in the 47 counties is very important. I attend funerals in my rural home. And I'm scared about some of the things I hear being said, even by clergy, in mother tongue. I've attended them in different parts of the country, even in languages that I don't understand. We are going into an election where nobody is prepared to lose.
Yes.
And that is a recipe for disaster. So you who have the power and authority to speak to those of us who are the laity, speak to us now. It's very important. Thank you.
An advocate and a watchman. A prophet is the one that speaks on behalf of God to the government, and I believe that's what is lacking at most. A watchman is speaking on behalf of the people, the helpless. Sorry, an advocate. A watchman, you watch, and you're able to inform the advocate as well as, and I'm wondering the convergence of those three coming together. Thank you.
You see, if you're a Christian, and I claim to be a practicing Christian, whether that is true, the others will judge, but I make that claim. And one of the things that you must do in whatever station you are is to question things. The day before yesterday, I wrote 2 letters. One was to the Registration Bureau that deals with registration of companies. And this is what I told the gentleman. That in the last 1 year that I've dealt with you, you have improved tremendously. I was appreciating the good that has been done. The second letter I wrote to the Ombudsman, and I told the Ombudsman that I work in Kenya and I work in different countries, and government departments and government ministries in Kenya are some of the worst. You hold mwongozo workshops, you go for benchmarking, but you cannot as much as respond to letters. But I chose the following organizations and I told them, except the National Transport Authority, except Kenya National Highway Authority, except Nairobi Metropolitan Service, except the Kenya School of Law, except the ESCC. And I'm answering your question, that we must condemn and also praise when it is worthy. Because that is what good citizenship is all about. And we don't do that often enough. We must rebuke and praise at the same time. And I'm quite certain, and the men and women who are here, at least I can speak for Bishop Rotich, I can speak for Bishop Oginde, I can speak for Canon Wanaina, because I've seen them do that publicly. But how many do it in our different spaces? It takes a bubble to make an ocean. So make your contribution in whatever station you are at, and that will be your contribution. Ask yourself, what do I do privately and publicly to change my immediate circumstances? And that is what Elisha was dealing with. And when you are told, therefore, that in Kenya we have a very unique thing here. Says, in Kenya we are told, hiyo ni siasa, which should mean that it is a bad thing. But what is siasa? Siasa is about governance. How we govern our affairs. So there's village politics, there is domestic politics, how you run your affairs. We are all politicians of that mold, and you've got to complain. And one of the things that we must do is to keep on, suppose Kenyans were to have a day of rage, a day of rage, where we express our dissatisfaction with what is happening. And on that day, even if it is only for 1 hour, I've seen it happening in Chile, wherever you are, you come out and knock pots across the country. Can we ever have that? When we call a day of rage in Kenya, you'll suddenly realize you are Kikuyu, that is a Luo affair. You'll suddenly realize that you are Kamba. You'll forget that you are a Christian who worships at the All Saints Cathedral or the Basilica or the Nairobi Pentecostal. Until the day that we are capable of rising up and expressing rage as Christians, all this will be hollow talk. And you must be consistent about it. There are too many parents asking to be worshipped in this country. Choose you now. whom you shall worship. Choose you now. Thank you.
So please join me to congratulate my panelists and a very, very good session that we had. Thank you.